Hello, Steve White, Steve 89. I'm doing my Before I Die marathon. I'm just trying to watch all the movies that I've amassed over the years, that I've bought and not watched, or watched like the week I bought them, like 15 years ago, and don't remember them. And a little trilogy of films, an original film and sequel, and a remake I wanted to watch because I remember all of them being good, was When a Stranger Calls, with Carol Kane in the original. Now, this is, of course, the iconic line, "The call is coming from within the house," that's that film. Unfortunately, it's, okay, the first 23 minutes of the film is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And that's the original setup of Carol Kane and the line, "The call is coming from within the house." Now, unfortunately, the rest of the film is god awful. It's really strange. Once they sort of have that scenario play out, they go to the murderer escaping from an asylum and just wandering around the street and randomly stalking some woman who lets him into a house for no apparent reason, and then this detective's hunting him and just happens to stumble across the woman that he's stalking. It's just ridiculous. It doesn't work. It's miserable. The actor is horrible. It's kind of scary and creepy, but it gave you such a great setup, and then did nothing with it until you get to about an hour or so in. So it's not the rest of the film's bad. It's like the middle of the film. The first 20 minutes, the last 20 minutes are great. The middle 40 minutes are woeful. Now, the actress who's the woman who's sort of being stalked by the killer, who seems to be confused about who and what he is, she actually is quite good. She's not taking any crap from anyone, and she's very interesting, but they don't really go anywhere with it. And then we eventually get back to the Carol Kane character, and this is 5 years later, and this guy's just found her again for no apparent reason, except that's how the movie was to end. I'm like, why they didn't just spend the whole film with him looking for her after he got out? That whole film would have worked. But they had this whole, it's like two films. It's just really bizarre. And it starts to work again once they get, she's basically, now she's the adult and she's leaving her kids with a babysitter, because in the original section she was a babysitter. Don't know if I mentioned that. I kind of feel like anyone listening to this would know the basic setup, what the basic film is about, if they haven't already seen it, and they're just curious what I think about it, or if I know something they don't know. And there's quite a good scene where it's revealed that he's back and that now her children are in danger, and it's quite believable, and the setup and the way they play it out works really well, and the ending works really well, and how they could, it's like someone came in and it's like they had this awful film and then someone came in and bookended it and did a beginning and an ending and kind of fixed it by reshooting half of it, but then left the middle the same. I don't know, I just really wonder what would have happened if the whole of the film had been about Carol Kane and about this guy coming back after her and playing that out some way. I don't know what they would have done with that middle 40 minutes aside from like a Halloween sort of just wandering around stalking sort of thing. But we would have gone probably a bit more time to see who she was, but maybe when she was younger, and then who she was as an adult in her life, and how he sort of worked out how to get in and threaten her and her kids again. But yeah, the beginning is brilliant, the end is great, and the middle's a disaster. Now, the second film, When a Stranger Calls Back, is much better. She basically has taken on self-defense training for women. She basically does counseling for women who've been threatened or abused, and eventually someone starts stalking her, and someone's actually stalking someone else, and then when she's helping her out, she gets stalked too, and the person's a little bit of a copycat. And although that the explanation for him and how he's been doing what he's doing is pretty far out, it still works. There's a couple of good scenes, particularly the end scene where the final sort of confrontation is actually, you're really with the Carol Kane character. You really want her to survive and you really feel the fight. It's actually pretty good in a lot of ways. Now the remake, I think I might do a separate video for that, but the remake is totally different. very little in relation to this, except it's a babysitter basically being stalked. But it's actually really, really good because it's its own film. It has that iconic line that calls is coming from within the house, But it's a totally different film. It works in a totally modern way, and that's what they were going for. So first film, start and end, great. Second film, great sequel, continues on, is really what the first film should have been like. And the remake is actually, it's not better, it's just different, and it works in its own way. And had they tried to remake the original, they probably wouldn't have done as well. It's a really, really tricky thing doing a remake and getting it right. And you either copy it and duplicate it well, or you do something totally different that works in its own way and has some sort of, connection or some sort of tone or feeling or something in common with the original that sort of, uses the better elements that reminds you of it or something, but does its own thing. So there's those two ways, and it works in one of them. I'm going to go.